What's up, guys, and welcome to another Magic Arena video. I just want to go ahead before we get into this, apologize if you hear like a lawnmower or a leaf blower outside. It's because right before I started recording, they decided to go ahead and do that. So unfortunately, bad timing, but I'm really excited for this deck today. So the deck that we're going to be running is blue-black Kefnet Control. This is a list that I found on aetherhub.com. It's a really cool list. It is very standard control-y, and that it has a decent amount of card draw with Chart a Course, Opt, Notion Rain as well. But it does have some hand disruption with Thought Erasure, and then also just a lot of creature spell or removal spells. With Cast Down, it has Sweepers with Cry of the Carnarium. It has Vraska's Contempt, and then one of the new cards from War of the Spark is Enter the God Eternals. This is a really, really powerful card for this deck. So it deals 4 damage to target creature. You gain life equal to the damage dealt this way. And then target player puts the top 4 cards of their library into their graveyard, and you amass 4. So it does a lot of stuff for only 5 mana. Obviously a little bit of a restricted mana cost, but it's really not too bad. The amass 4 is great at closing out the game. It gives us a creature that just swings in, deals a lot of damage. We're really easily able to control things to that point, and so the idea is hopefully this is going to be one of our big finishers. We do also run 2 of the namesake card, God Eternal Kefnet. So it's a 4/5 for 4 mana with flying. You may reveal the first card that you draw on each of the turns as you draw it. When you reveal an instant or sorcery card this way, you can copy that card and you may cast that copy. The copy costs 2 less to cast, so that lets you play the God Eternals for only 3 mana, Vraska's Contempt for only 2 mana. A lot of really, really interesting stuff. A lot of these draw spells, like Chart a Course, only then cost 1 mana. So you get a lot of value just off of this one card. And then it, of course, has the God Eternal idea that you can't really get rid of it. Once it hits the board, it's very difficult to actually get rid of because you basically throw it, I think, third from the top. Into your deck if it dies. So it's really, really powerful. But that's kind of the game plan for this deck. We're going to get into it. I have tested a little bit with this deck, and it's done fairly well. A few wins, a few losses, kind of here and there. So I'm excited to see how it goes. So let's go ahead and get into game 1. Alright guys, here we are for game 1 with Kefnet Control against Crazy Flames. We are just playing casual games again, as we have been, just kind of testing the waters with this. Our opening hand actually looks fairly good. So we've got Augur of Bolas, which is going to help us dig a little bit into our deck, and then of course Chart a Course, which helps us draw. And then if we are against an aggro deck, ideally we'll be able to find a black land pretty easily, and then we can play Cry of the Carnarium. Any other just like Voltron kind of decks, we can actually use Vraska's Contempt, so I feel pretty good about keeping this. They are mulliganing down to 6, so we'll see what they've actually got. Again, I did play a little bit with this deck before actually recording this video. I really like it. It doesn't necessarily have the best matchups against certain things, but usually it's pretty good. I think here we're going to go ahead and Augur of Bolas just to get something on the board and actually dig us into hopefully a some kind of a threat. Enter the God Eternal seems like a decent one. We are against blue-black at the minimum, it looks like. And it may be the Gates deck, considering they are running the Dimir Guildgate. And yeah, it looks like that's definitely going to be the case. So we'll see. Well, they Thought Erasure. So let's see what they take. Chart a Course. Interesting. I don't know that I would have picked that, but we'll see. So I have a Thought Erasure of my own. And I think first things first, I'm just going to go ahead and swing in for 1. It's not going to be doing much else, so I might as well. And then I think I will also cast my own Thought Erasure. Hopefully see what they're up to. So they have another Thought Erasure, Chromatic Lantern, and then Moment of Craving. So not a great hand for them. And I think, while Chromatic Lantern is a very, very powerful card, I think I take the Thought Erasure right now. If they draw a single threat, we have the means to deal with it pretty easily. Return. I like this, the Dismissal, solely because it does amass, but I'm going to throw that into the graveyard. I'd rather get a Kefnet or something like that to help really close out the game, especially since they don't really have a great play next turn unless they draw something. They can play Chromatic Lantern, which is perfectly fine if they get the right lands, but it doesn't look like that's the case. So, okay, so I think what we will do is go ahead and swing in. Let's see. And then I think we're going to Augur of Bolas. Again, I don't want to run the Pteramander out. The Pteramander is a great threat in this deck because a lot of times you can play it and use its ability the same turn. Unfortunately, that's not the case now, so I'd rather not do it yet. Solely because they have that Moment of Craving in hand. They can easily just kind of get rid of it. So let's see what they come up with. There is the option always of using the God Eternals on our own creature, solely to upgrade our creature. I know that's not necessarily what you would normally use it for, but in the future that might be an option. We'll go ahead and attack here and then ideally be able to chart a course for 2 cards. Hopefully finding a land, but then also perfect. So that gives us another play on their turn. If we need to, of course. And again, we're not going to be playing that Pteramander right into the Moment of Craving. It does get out of their hand, which is fine, but I'd rather not just run something out into that seems bad. So yes, so we'll let that resolve. And this, yeah, okay. So they will be drawing a few cards, which is not ideal for us, but worse things have happened. Okay, so go ahead, see what we draw here. I do apologize if it is a bit laggy again. I explained in the last couple videos, but it just, because of the computer I'm running it on, it's not necessarily the best for that. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and attack in. And then I know this sounds terrible, but I think what I'm actually going to do is use the God Eternals on our own creature. Yes. And I'm going to target them with the mill. I know there are instances where you probably should do that for the Pteramander. But in this instance, we've actually got quite a lot of instants and sorceries headed there anyway, and so I'm not super worried about that. Plus, we do have the backup God Eternals. So we'll see what they've got. Hopefully, they do not have a removal spell for the 4/4, but if they do, then at least we burn 1, and then we do have the second God Eternals. Draw that many cards. +1, you gain life equal to the number. Okay, that's an interesting card. So that's a new War of the Spark one. Heartwarming Redemption, interesting card for sure. Okay, first things first, because we drew the Thought Erasure, we're going to go ahead and use that here. We get a look at their hands, so we'll see what they're up to, and then ideally we can kind of get rid of something important. So this is interesting. You play the top card of your library. If you cast a spell this way, pay life equal to the converted mana cost rather than paying its mana cost. Each opponent loses 10 life. That is very interesting. Don't really like it though. X's number of gates you control. So I do think I have to get rid of the Gates Ablaze here. Vraska's Contempt is also good, and Bolas' Citadel is interesting, but I do think Gates Ablaze is definitely the pick. We'll go ahead, surveil that to the bottom. Again, we're kind of looking for Kefnet here to be able to deal a lot of damage. And I think here we're going to toss out this as a threat. And we'll go ahead and swing in. So again, they do have the Vraska's Contempt, and they also have Moment of Craving, all of which are definitely cards to consider. But now in response to this, we have the ability to adapt. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And then they gain 2 life, but they do not destroy the creature, which is worth it. At least that gets the card out of their hands. So any further Pteramanders, we have a better chance of surviving. Um, so they are under quite a bit of pressure here. They do have, I mean, they'll be able to Vraska's Contempt something, but they're going to go ahead and play the Citadel. Interesting card for sure. I don't know that I agree with that play, but that's fine. We'll see. They get to Thought Erasure me, so they take Vraska's Contempt, and they Ablaze. Wow. Okay. Well, that definitely is a good play. So that unfortunately leaves us with no plays until they do something, or until we draw something good. So it could have been considered that I should have left the Pteramander back just so we had a backup plan. So that definitely could have been a misplay. My thought process was to try and close out the game as quickly as possible, especially knowing that they did have the Citadel. I thought that would be a better way to do it. So that could have been right or wrong. I'm not 100% sure, but we'll see. They are drawing quite a large number, or they will be drawing quite a large number of cards off of all this. Discard all cards. Again, the Heartwarming Redemption. So they're down to 19 cards. And they pass to us. So unfortunately, I am going to continue playing the lands if we draw them, because we do have other things held up. But that's it for us. We can't do too much at this point. Though I will say, I mean, they are doing stuff, but it doesn't seem like they're dealing too much damage. They do have the Citadel, so they do have an out to dealing quite a lot of damage. But they do have to sacrifice 10 non-land permanents just to do that, and they're not anywhere close to it. They do have a lot of mana, so that's worth noting, but I don't know that it's going to be quite enough. Another Thought Erasure. Fair enough. I assume they'll take the God Eternals, yep. Just because that is our out, one of our outs to win. And they really have drawn quite a number of cards here, so they're down to 13 in their deck. That's interesting. I'm wondering if they have Jace somewhere in their deck, which would be a good play. So we did draw Kefnet. We're going to go ahead and run it out. At the very least, it's a very difficult threat to deal with. And hopefully, assuming the top of our deck is kind to us, we actually have a couple of hopefully good plays there as well. But we'll see. We will see. Drawing a lot more cards again. That's perfectly fine. Resolve that. I don't want to pass priority for the turn just on the off chance they have something here, but that's okay. So I will be putting this third from the top, just to give us some inevitability with being able to play him. And we'll see what they've got. It's a really interesting stall deck. I feel like they're just not... I mean, it does a lot. I don't know what the end game is, to be honest. But we'll see. We will see. And again, if it is a bit choppy, I apologize. The graphics quality for my computer, unfortunately, is not ideal. But... I mean, they have to be playing Jace, right? Like, they have to. That could be the only thing that I would think of. Because they're very close. I mean, they've got 5 cards left in the deck here, which is not much. Yep, there we go. Okay, so do they win this turn, though? Yes, it looks like they do. All right. They won it. Interesting deck. Really interesting deck. So it's cool to see the new Jace. Obviously, people have been kind of speculating that he's going to be either really good or really bad. I think we even posted on our Instagram about that. That was really interesting. I like that deck a lot. Might be something that we play around with in the future. But for right now, I guess we will head into game 2. All right, guys, we are here for game 2 against Nicola Pegas. I hope I'm saying that correct. I have no clue. Again, playing this Kefnet Control deck. It looks like our opening hand is fairly good. So we do have a turn 2 Thought Erasure, which is going to give us some info. We do have a couple of draw spells, and then we have Augur of Bolus, obviously, to dig a little bit deeper, but also give us a body on the field. So I think I'm going to go ahead and keep this. Depending on what the opponent's playing, we'll either play Thought Erasure or Augur of Bolus on turn 1 most likely, or excuse me, turn 2. 100% depends if they have played a creature at that point or not. If we're against like a creature deck or something like that, I would probably rather have Augur of Bolus because we do have so much in the way of removal that at least Augur will be able to block something low to the ground. It entirely depends on the threat, obviously, but we'll see what they come up with. So looks like they're deciding what to do. So they're playing Drowned Catacomb. So we may have an interesting matchup ahead of us. Let's see. Ooh, this is so laggy. Very, very sorry. But we will play Watery Grave tapped. Interesting that... Okay, so Grixis. So in that case, I'm going to play a Swamp, and we're going to go ahead and Thought Erasure. Get some information on what they're doing. Hopefully they're playing... Ooh, interesting stuff. Dreadhorde Invasion is definitely a good card. Nicol Bolas is very, very good too. Really don't like Nicol Bolas very much. I really don't like the Dreadhorde Invasion either. Just long term, we don't necessarily have a good way to deal with that, whereas at least with Nicol Bolas, we have something to do. This also takes them off of a turn 2 play, so I do think I'm going to take the Dreadhorde Invasion. That may be an incorrect play, but I do think that's the best right now. I'm going to leave the God Eternals on top as well. That gives us a long-term game plan against Nicol Bolas. It also gives us a creature to hopefully close out the game at some point. But I think that was the best move. They do have Thought Erasure, so they're going to be able to look back at our hand. We unfortunately don't have much that they need to take. They could take Augur of Bolas just as a creature, or they could maybe just take like Notion Rain because maybe it potentially sees the most cards. But either way, they're not going to be getting a ton of value off of it. They do get to Surveil, so they will see the top card of their deck as well. Yep, they will take Notion Rain. That makes sense. So I think next turn we probably play Watery Grave and then Augur of Bolas. We're going to play Augur first on the off chance that we get maybe an Opt or something like that. Or a Pteramander. Well, we can't actually pick up Pteramanders, I suppose. So I think because of their hand, I think we take the other God Eternals here. I know that it's going to be a little bit tricky to play both long term, but they do have 2 Nicol Bolases, so I'd much rather deal with those as quickly as I can. Ideally, a Thought Erasure would be great right now. That's fine. The Rampage is not a huge deal in my mind. We will play an Island, and we'll play another Augur. And see what we get. Ideally, like a Thought Erasure would be perfect. Unfortunately, we don't. So I think we are going to go ahead and chart a course here, just because we kind of need to get some kind of a game plan together. I'm going to discard the Opt, I believe, because I just don't know. I want to keep the Tyrant Scorn in case they've got some other creature as well as Cast Down, but we'll see. We're also going to need discard fodder. So I each discard a card. That kind of sucks, but I will discard the Scorn, I believe. If we draw a land, we're pretty well set. Yeah, okay, so we are... I think we're just going to go ahead and do the God Eternals. Go ahead, blow this up. Go ahead and make them discard. I don't know with that discard if it is meant to be targeted at them or for ourselves. I honestly just don't know what's the best move there. The only reason I say that, I know we have Pteramander, so there is options for cheapening that mana cost to adapt him, which is great. But I don't know if it's truly worth it or not, to be honest. I genuinely have no idea. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of Cast Down here. It just doesn't do anything against the Bolas. And we do have a second God Eternals. So I think the play is a pretty clear God Eternals, blow up Nicol Bolas, get an 8/8 zombie here, and then be able to swing in for 9. Excuse me. So that does bring them down to 10. The goal here is for them to not have any crazy plays next turn. They do only have 2 cards in hand. Okay, so we win it. So finally, for the first time, and this is the 3rd video, we have actually won a game. Again, you see the power of the God Eternals, Enter the God Eternal. It's just so good. It does so much on board. It just deals with a creature, gains you a little bit of life, discards some of their stuff, and gives you it's everything. So I really love that card. You really got to see that highlighted there. But I guess we'll run into game 3. All right, guys, here we are for game 3 with Kefnet Control. Again, a really interesting deck. In the last game, you really got to see some of the highlight of this deck. Ugh, I don't like this. I don't think we can keep this. We just don't have black mana. We do have turn 1 and turn 2 plays in the way of Pteramander, but I don't think that's good enough. I think I'm going to have to mulligan. This is much better. We have turn 1 opt, turn 2 erasure, so I think that's definitely a keep. Pteramander, that's a little tricky. I do think I'm going to keep it because it is a threat, and we technically don't have one right now. It is a cheap threat long term, and we will be playing a good number of instants and sorceries in the beginning of this this game here. So Selesnya Guildgate, so it looks like gates again. I think I'm going to go ahead and Pteramander, knowing that they probably will not have much of a turn 2, at least to deal with the Pteramander. So I'd rather get this online a little bit early. Okay, so here we're going to go ahead and Thought Erasure, hopefully being able to get something key. Jace is definitely key. So it looks like they're trying to do this this whole thing too. So they do have Gates of Blaze, which does deal with Pteramander, and I don't like that too much. Gate Colossus is also interesting, but I think long term we can definitely deal with that. I don't like leaving them with Gates of Blaze, but I do think I have to take Jace here. It is a win con, and so I'm going to have to get rid of that. I think I'll leave this on top. We do need lands in the next couple turns. We need to really get up to 5 as quick as possible for the Enter the God Eternals. That's just one of the most powerful cards for this deck for sure. So they do go ahead and play Search for Azcanta. That makes sense. So I think here, before doing anything, I am actually just going to go ahead and opt. Ooh, that is a good one. So I think we'll keep that. That makes me care much less if they play the Ablaze card. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and play this tapped. And then swing him for 1. If that is the only removal spell that they end up having right now, then we are hopefully going to be in pretty good shape. If we can keep Kefnet around for a turn or 2, we should be able to get enough value off of him to really do a good bit. Still just hanging in there with that. So let's see. We're going to go ahead and attack first. Yep, go for it. And then we're going to play Kefnet. This leaves us with the option of dismissal next turn. So if they're going to play this big 8/8 Gate Colossus, we do have the option of either cast downing it or just using dismissal on whatever else they might play. We will see. Okay, so they do play that. That's fine. It can riot, which is annoying, but I think I'm just going to take 8. I don't want to lose Kefnet because we could get just so much value off of him, and we're at obviously a reasonable enough life total. We will not reveal Pteramander. We will play a land. We're going to go ahead and cast down the Colossus. And then I think we also... I don't want to run out too much here because they do have this Gates Ablaze card. So I think we're just going to go ahead and swing in here. Deal at least a little bit of damage before these things die. I think we passed the turn. So now if they've got another Colossus, that's not great for us because they will just be able to riot it in and swing in for a good bit. If all they do is a Blaze, that sucks. It's a 2-for-1, but we at least have the backup Pteramander. And then also a play with Dismissal to maybe... Is this only creatures? That's my question. Non-land permanents. So we can bounce something over here, like the Rhythm of the Wild, just to give them a less of a good play, I should say. Hydroid Krasis is annoying, but really not that bad. Yeah, reveal. Let's do that. So we're gonna play this and immediately blow that up. We're gonna mill them for 4. And that's gonna give us a 4/4. So that was a fairly good draw. Definitely likes that one. And I think here I am going to go ahead. Yeah, I think I'm going to go ahead and bounce the Rhythm. It's really just a tempo play, but I do think it's worth it here. They're a little hooked on lands. This also gives us a cheaper way to use the Pteramander, which is pretty key. So we'll see what they do. I do think that's a key enough card that I would like to get rid of it. And then if they want to replay it, that takes their turn. Or at least some of their turn, I should say. Gates Ablaze is going to be pretty heavy here at some point. Okay. That is okay. It's not great. Do we... I think we just have to take this. I really don't want to, but I think that's going to be the best option here. Because we will get to God Eternal and just make this huge if we want. So decline that. Okay, so we are at a little bit of an interesting impasse here. I want to just use this, and I think it's the best option. Deals 4 damage. It's going to boost that up. I think this is the best option here. Go ahead and mill them for 4 again. Just trying to get rid of their options a little bit. So that gives us a 9/9. So if I do swing in with everything, they have to block. If I don't swing in with everything, yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and swing in. That means they do have to block the 9/9. With their 6/2, which is going to take it out. And we're getting them down to 6. So this really is a key turn. Next turn, if they don't play anything too important, then we can just use the Pteramander and swing in for 5 as well as 4 with Kefnet. I don't know. It's a little bit scary because they do have the Rhythm of the Wilds out. And so this card really is just backbreaking for a lot of decks, especially control decks. Ugh, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. So that gets me down to 6. But, yep, we win it. All right. I was going to say, I didn't think they had a backup play because they only had 2 lands open. Okay, guys, so... out of 3 games, we finally won a couple. Very, very happy about that. I love this Kefnet Control deck. It's really, really fun. It plays like a control deck, obviously, but with Pteramander and with that new God Eternals, Enter the God Eternals, it's just such a fantastic card. Backbreaking for the opponent. So, hugely enjoyed this one. Hopefully you guys too. If you did, please make sure to leave a like or a comment down below. And as always, please make sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of our awesome content. But with that, I'm going to get out of here. I'll see you in the next Magic Arena video.